Hey guys! Today we're going to break down episode 7 of Buried Hearts. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, you can find the links in the description. The episode begins with Dong-woo at the church, where people have gathered to pay their respects to his sister. Jung-Sun is also there, talking to Dong-woo, vowing that he won't let the person who did this to his sister get away with it. He mentions that the culprit is currently in the hospital, but as soon as he's out, justice will be served. Meanwhile, Dong-woo is lost in thought, recalling the moment when his sister passed away. He remembers how the ambulance arrived and he went with his sister. We also get a glimpse of the truck driver who hit Kong-ju. He is actually one of Jung-sun's men and wears a distinctive ring. Later, a woman approaches Dong-woo, crying, but he doesn't recognize her. The woman, named Jang-Gi, is visibly emotional. She asks him, "Do you really not recognize me?" Jung-sun, who is nearby, explains that Jang-Gi was not only a guardian to Dong-woo's sister, but also took care of him. At this point, the story flashes back to Dong-woo's school days. We see a young Dong-woo playing a game with his classmates, which eventually turns into an argument. This results in him standing before the principal along with Jang-Gi. Jang-Gi tries to defend him, stating that others saw what happened and can confirm that it wasn't Dong-woo's fault. But to his shock, his teammates change their statements and side against him. In a nearby room, Jung-sun is observing everything. Dong-woo, feeling betrayed, wants to leave, but Jang-Gi stops him, urging him to apologize so he won't get expelled. Dong-woo, however, refuses, stating that he hasn't done anything wrong. Just then, the father of another student, Chol, enters the room. He claims he was late because of a conference. Dong-woo rudely confronts him, accusing him of encouraging his son's actions. He storms out, leaving the adults stunned. Jung-sun follows him, but as soon as he steps outside, Chol's father spots him and confronts him, asking why he is there. Jung-sun coldly responds that, as an uncle, he has every right to protect Chol. The scene shifts to 8 years earlier, where we see Goo showing Jung-sun a photo of a young Dong-woo. Goo reveals that Dong-woo has joined a dangerous organization called the Daesun Group. Jung-sun looks at the photo, recalling the same Dong-woo from their school days. In the present, Jang-Gi is still trying to talk to Dong-woo, reminding him of their past and how his mother entrusted both him and his sister to her before passing away. But Dong-woo, struggling with his lost memories, refuses to acknowledge anything. Jung-sun is quietly listening to their conversation, clearly intrigued. Dong-woo later approaches Jung-sun and asks for a favor, to take care of Jang-Gi while he steps away. Jung-sun reluctantly agrees. Dong-woo then takes Jang-Gi outside, away from the guests. Meanwhile, Goo is lurking nearby, eavesdropping on their conversation, curious to know whether Dong-woo's memory has started to return. Elsewhere, Jung-sun is welcoming guests and suddenly spots Yoo-ju. However, it turns out to be a hallucination. He talks to himself, wondering, if I caused such a big trauma to Dong-woo, why hasn't his memory come back yet? He also laments about his 2 trillion won and the financial mess he is in. Jang-Gi reassures Dong-woo not to worry about the guests and tells him to rest while she takes care of them. The scene then shifts to the hospital where the truck driver is being treated. A nurse enters, saying he needs to provide medical care. He is allowed inside, but instead of helping, he sneaks the truck driver out. Outside, the nurse meets another man, who asks, "Did Jung-sun send you?" The nurse coldly responds, "Stop talking." Then, without hesitation, he removes the man from the premises. Later, we see a police officer arriving at the hospital to take a statement from the truck driver. However, he is informed that the patient is undergoing treatment. The officer quickly realizes that something suspicious is going on. Back at the church, we see Chairman Suk talking on the phone. His daughter, Yun, arrives and questions what he is doing there. He explains that he came because the nun has passed away. She then reveals that Dong-woo was the patient who visited their home last time and that the nun was his sister, which is why she came to the funeral. Shortly after, the chairman's family arrives, and Jung-sun observes them carefully. Meanwhile, Jang-Gi keeps looking back as if expecting someone. It seems like she is waiting for Dong-woo. We then see the nurse bringing someone in, but surprisingly, it's one who had been helping Dongwoo. Dongwoo, watching from a distance, hops onto his bike and rides away, with one following him in a car. Later, Jang-Gi is seen heading toward the church, unaware that she is being watched. Goo sends a message to someone, informing them of her movements. However, he also receives a concerning message. Yang has gone missing from the hospital. Jung-Sun steps outside to confront a manager, accusing him of helping someone escape, but the manager denies it. Then security footage is shown, revealing that the nurse who took Yang away was actually one in disguise. This leaves Jung-Sun wondering, who is the man in the helmet? Could it be Dongwoo? Goo, however, insists that it's not possible since Dongwoo is supposed to be in his room. But he starts having second thoughts, wondering if Dongwoo has already left. At this moment, Dongwoo returns, making eye contact with Jung-Sun. Elsewhere, we see Yeonnam and Hee-chul arriving at the church. Dongwoo glances at Yeonnam for a brief moment before sitting down. Leedo talks to Jung-Sun, suggesting that Dongwoo's memories may be returning. Jung-Sun downplays it, but Leedo warns if his memories do come back, the first thing he'll do is kill you for shooting him. Later, Jung-Sun is seen meeting with someone who turns out to be Song-cheol from an earlier episode. Song-cheol tells him that his boss sent him to talk. Their conversation escalates into a confrontation, but Jung-Sun hesitates before attacking. Meanwhile, Goo informs Jung-Sun that they have no updates on Dongwoo's whereabouts. As Jung-Sun ponders, we see Dongwoo emerging from a tunnel. Back at the mansion, Dongwoo finds an old locker and retrieves an important paper inside, realizing that someone else had already taken the original. That night, Dongwoo is in his room when Yeonnam arrives. She gently knocks on the door. Dongwoo, standing inside, asks, "What are you doing here?" Yeonnam steps inside, looking at him with concern. "Are you okay?" she asks. Dongwoo hesitates before removing his shirt, revealing his scars. He then says, "Remember the day we were supposed to climb the tree together? That day, someone shot at me. They tried to kill me. After that, my memory disappeared. Then my sister died." Tears well up in Yeonnam's eyes. "I'm sorry, Dongwoo. I should have been there. Please forgive me," she pleads. But Dongwoo, looking emotionally shattered, responds, "It's not your fault. But do you think I'm okay? I'm not. Ever since we were kids, nothing good has happened between us. Now you're married to Hee-chul. Don't come near me again. Stay away from my life." Yeonnam is shocked and heartbroken, but she doesn't argue. She turns around and slowly walks away. That evening, Dongwoo sits for dinner. The servants bring out food, including cookies. Everyone watches him closely, particularly Jung-Sun, as Dongwoo begins eating. Leedo suddenly recalls something. Jung-Sun had warned him earlier, if Dongwoo refuses to eat the cookies, it means his memory has returned. Dongwoo eats the cookies without hesitation. However, moments later, his vision blurs. He stumbles, feeling lightheaded. Before anyone realizes what's happening, he collapses. Yeonnam rushes to him, holding him in her arms and screaming for help. As Dongwoo struggles to keep his eyes open, he sees Leedo watching him. Just before passing out, he realizes that he has been poisoned.